D.Va has been nerfed a lot this last patch, but is it enough? Is D.Va actually dead? Have we freed ourselves of this terrible meta? Well, I don't quite think so, and I'll tell you why. So basically, D.Va has gotten a lot of changes to her survivability, some directly aimed at her, others aimed at tanks in general. And I'm going to break down each of these changes, and I'll tell you why that I don't think that any of the changes that affected D.Va particularly mattered so much overall. Now, I do think D.Va is a lot weaker now this patch, but is it really that much to keep her completely out of the meta and completely out of ladder play? I'm not as convinced, but let's go ahead. We'll start here. We're going to start with the big one that I think a lot of people were aiming for, hoping would go away, is that D.Va's boosters now scale additively with speed boosts and not multiplicatively. So she should be not going nearly as fast. You've watched her just fly through a D.Va speed ring. She's not going to be going nearly as fast, and I think that was where a lot of initial frustration, at least particularly in this most recent meta, were coming from, just because D.Va was going so beyond fast. It was almost like unreactable how fast she was getting on your backline and blowing you up with her recently buffed micro missiles and the extra damage that she can put in, let alone, that's not even mentioning any of your other teammates shooting you in the process. It was just really frustrating. That is not going to be nearly as oppressive anymore. So that is a very, very big thing. That just makes D.Va not as good with Juno comps right now. But the thing is that D.Va really does hard benefit from having a Juno regardless of that interaction. I think D.Va is one of the best characters that you compare with a Juno because the speed ring helps D.Va close the gap regardless of how fast it actually is going. It helps her close the gap, get on targets faster, get in their face faster. Juno can support D.Va from a very, very long range, but also D.Va can play in much more aggressive positions that are still safe. Unlike an Ana where you have to be in her sightlines all the time, Juno has a little bit more room to work and to move and maneuver to keep up with D.Va, so you actually get to have more space than you typically would on like a regular Ana Brig comp. So D.Va definitely still gets a lot from Juno, and since Juno is still really, really, really good this patch, D.Va is going to benefit a lot from that. It's, yes, some of the interaction of Speed Ring is not as frustrating and annoying, but I still think it's going to be a really good option to use. It's definitely still not going to change the game plan as much. Maybe not let you do it so early and so recklessly, but the game plan is still the same, right? Next are some changes to her survivability, and by her survivability, it's really all tank survivability. So armor was nerfed a little bit so that the 50% threshold is only going to be applying for instances of damage that are 7 or less instead of 10 or less. Basically, this really doesn't do that much overall. It just makes those mid-range damage characters like Soldier, Genji, Lucio, they are better against armor. Those characters don't really want to focus down characters with armor. It's not that big of a deal, right? D.Va is still going to be really good against most instances of armor or most instances of damage, and for the majority of them, it's not going to feel a substantial difference either way. So just those armor changes, I don't think were really that substantial or that much in the first place. So I don't really think that D.Va's survivability is going to take a major hit here at all. The bigger hit to her survivability is going to be the 50 armor that she lost, because that is a lot more effective health that she lost than I think a lot of people give it credit for. Yes, she got 25 regular health to compensate, but that really isn't going to matter so much as that really juicy armor. But, I mean, you can see it at the bottom left here. The majority of D.Va's health bar is armor. At least, I think maybe after this patch it might not be, but it has been armor. So the smaller increments of armor that you take off, the less it's going to feel right. If I took 50 armor off of Winston, he's going to feel that change much more than D.Va, because D.Va has so much armor. You get what I'm saying? So, yes, it is definitely going to hurt her survivability, sure, but is it really going to matter in the grand scheme of things? In my opinion, probably not. It's effectively like, I don't know, maybe she can take like 25 less HP on average. Well, maybe a little more because she's down 25 net. So like maybe like 30 to 40 HP on average that she is down effectively, right? I don't think that really is that much of a change. I don't think D.Va survivability is going to matter here. Maybe there are going to be a couple less maps you can play her on, and that's it, right? Maybe there's better options on some other maps that are typically not as good for her, and that's kind of what we're looking at there. Also, I think the actual biggest change in this entire patch is the tank knockback, because it went down from 40% reduction to 25% reduction. I've talked about this already. In Overwatch 2, this is the lowest it's ever been. So D.Va is going to feel this one a lot for two reasons. One, the obvious reason is that she is a diver, and her dives can be disrupted much more effectively now, right? Especially when she's in Juno Ring, she's not going as fast. It's going to be way easier to boop her away, whip shot, Lucio Soundwave, I think that's what it's called. Anything, right? Anything under the sun to get her away from your backline. You know, no problems there. The other thing is that D.Va is a close range character, and a lot of her damage comes from like up close, the shotgun that she effectively has. So being able to, even after her boosters have gone off, just being able to knock her away further from your core or whoever she's going on, so she's getting less DPS per second, that is a really big change. That is something that we really do need to keep an eye on. I think that is the biggest change in this entire patch for D.Va in particular, because it's really going to limit the amount of damage that she can do. So she didn't get a direct damage nerf, but effectively the knockback resistance change is a damage nerf specifically for D.Va. I think it does really matter for her. So after all that, all the changes not necessarily being that bad for her, the things that didn't get changed are still what kind of make D.Va good, right? Her damage is really high across the board, and she can do a lot of damage through DM. Because it's not just micro missiles, which is the big thing, right? But it's also booster impact damage. It's also melee damage. If you booster impact micro missiles melee right at the end, she doesn't have to put her DM down, and she can kill anything. She can effectively kill anything she wants with that combination. And that is just insane for a tank character that is hard to peel off your backline. Now, again, with the knockback resistance change, it's going to be easier. But she definitely needs a damage nerf somewhere in this combo. Most likely micro missiles, and I think the impact damage of her boosters should also be taken down a notch, because it is really high, and it is a much more underrated burst aspect of her damage that I think a lot of people don't quite recognize so much. But I do want to say that after all this, I'm saying, you know, D.Va really hasn't been hit that hard, you know, like it's been super over exaggerated, her death. In pro meta, in pro play with Juno, I actually think that D.Va is probably not going to get played much at all anymore. I think most teams in Korea, especially in EMEA, where they were playing it for the first time this weekend, the Juno rather, this weekend, they've preferred and ended up just basically staying on Ramattra the entire time. And since Ramattra didn't get any real sizable nerfs, he has a lot of armor, but he honestly doesn't care about the armor changes as much, because block is the main damage mitigation source for him, and the knockback changes doesn't affect him nearly as much as it does for a D.Va or something. It's not nearly as bad for Ram, and he was already getting played more than D.Va with these comps anyways. So I think that the meta is probably just going to be this hard Ram, Juno, Brig / Ana kind of stuff. So in professional play, I would expect to see D.Va go away a lot. I think we are barely going to see D.Va anymore, and we are going to instead see a lot more Ramattra. But on ladder, you know, just regular games that you would be playing on ranked or whatever, D.Va is still going to be very, very, very good, especially for ranked environment. If you've got a good Juno who knows what they're doing, or not Juno, a good D.Va who knows what they're doing, knows how to survive, knows how to get eliminations, it's going to feel way, way, way more oppressive because, you know, your teammates are going to have, it's dealing with D.Va it still takes a lot more to do, like, teamwork wise, than just solo. It is really hard to solo counterplay a D.Va right now, which I think is a bit of a problem, and that's why I think there definitely needs to be some changes and some looking at reevaluating DM and a couple interactions with this character, right? I think that is what's super frustrating about D.Va, is that she can dish out all the damage while she is effectively untouchable by a large majority of the cast. And that is an extremely exploitable thing for ladder play. So D.Va is still really good. I'm saying do not panic. Maybe you should panic because D.Va will be there. I don't think she'll be nearly as oppressive, but we should not be done looking at this character. We should definitely be taking a couple more looks at D.Va because there is a lot of pain points that we really need to consider with this character, because you're not going to be able to touch her again without breaking her, I think, without some other changes to her kit at this time. I didn't really throw around any suggestions, so I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. What should they do to D.Va to make her not so frustrating, but also not necessarily kill her outright? Because I think that there's a lot of fun to be had with D.Va, and honestly against certain D.Vas too. I know Defense Matrix is a little annoying, but still, right? While you're at it, leave a like and subscribe. I do really appreciate it. This will stream live at twitch.tv/LaneHemingway. That's Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays is when I stream. Always something to talk to me about then. And join my Discord if you want to talk Overwatch. Give me a hot take. Give me a replay code to look at. Anything like that. I like looking at that stuff on stream. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.